Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast. We are doing our National Signing Day capsules, class of 2023 signing today. Again, capsules on all these guys, quick videos. We'll have some content up on BuckeyeHuddle.com, but I am Marc Givler, joined with Kevin Noon. Our guy now, we are going to talk about the guy who kickstarted this amazing wide receiver class, Bryson Rodgers. Definitely, there's a lot we can talk about with Bryson. Obviously, again, was the guy who started this whole thing. Committed back in April. They went on to obviously land 3 more receivers in the class, all of those guys in June in back-to-back days. But Rodgers kicked this off. Kevin, you and I saw him on our Southern Swing. It was the first time we saw him in person. What were your impressions at that point, and kind of what do you see Ohio State getting here?
Yeah, he's not the biggest receiver. I mean, he's 6', 6'1", about $175, but we had the opportunity to see him during his spring practice, and he's just a guy that catches everything. I mean, he is the lowest rated of all of the wide receiver recruits that Ohio State is looking to be signing here on signing day. But yet he's still a 4-star. I mean, 24/7 has him 325th nationally. I don't know if I'm buying that. I don't know if I'm buying that. Being an evaluator is a difficult job. It's a hat that I don't wear and I don't want to wear. But I think he's one of these all around receivers that's going to be able to, you can do a lot of things with him. And when you look at the complementary pieces around him in terms of this class, of what a Carnell Tate, of what a Noah Rogers, of what a Brandon Ennis are. I mean, this is by far, one of the most complete receiver classes that I've seen. I mean, we can go back to the 2022 class and what's there, and we haven't necessarily seen any of these guys break through. And I'm not going to take anything away from this class, but you look at this 23 class, and it really checks off all the boxes. And it's easy to sleep on Bryson Rodgers, but do that at your own peril, because he's the type of guy that really could come out and emerge. And we're not that far removed from a day where Bryson Rodgers would far and away be like the best receiver that Ohio State would have in its class, by bar none.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kid who there aren't many negatives on the scouting report. And is he 6'3"? No. Is he a 4'3" guy? No. But he's also a guy, he's maybe the best route runner in this group. He's certainly right up there, in my opinion. He runs tremendous routes. The thing I love about him is he can line up anywhere. So this is a guy who you can put in the slot. There he is coming across the field out of the slot. You can put him on the outside. He's going to block. He's going to get you some yards after the catch. He's going to catch everything thrown his way. He is just so incredibly steady. Reminds me a little bit of KJ Hill in that regard, where I don't think KJ ever just blew you away with sheer athletic dominance, but yet was always open, put up big numbers, was a guy you could count on to make big plays at big times. But I just love the way he runs around. He's got great feet. You just watch him separate. He doesn't need to be a 4-3 guy to separate, just the way he runs routes. Here he is on the outside. Again, we've seen him in the slot here a little bit. Here he goes on the outside. It's a great release. Gets right by the defensive back before he even realizes what's going on. And just so you get that, you have those great quick feet and get that great release off the line. And you don't have to be a Ted Ginn Jr. to create separation. But here he goes down the seam. So he finds these spots in the defense. He's just a very smart kid. Kevin, we interviewed him and it was funny. I had all these questions I wanted to ask him, and we try to limit our Southern Swing interviews to 8 minutes. We don't want to keep these kids for 30 minutes after a practice or something. And I had all these questions for him, and I think I asked him 4 questions, and the thing went 20 minutes, and we had to just stop. He will be on the all interview team at Ohio State. The local media is going to love him.
Absolutely. I mean, he was probably the second longest interview, only behind Popo Aguirre, who Ohio State did not get, the linebacker out of the state of Georgia. But again, just another personality for the Buckeyes. People want to sit there and are like, are Bryson Rodgers and Noah Rodgers related? No. And are there interviews alike? No. Noah's not much of a talker. Bryson is very much a talker. I'm really excited to see how things are going to go with that, and then how sports information at Ohio State's going to ruin all of it, telling him not to talk to us, that we're evil and terrible. But just watching this tape, and I've gone through the tape before as I was getting us ready for the show, but I didn't make it all the way through. And there's just never anybody around him. He's not somebody that I'm like, well, can he catch in traffic? Well, he's never really in traffic. One of the things that I'm going to be interested to see is, and this goes back to a day and age not that far along, or that far ago in Ohio State lore of, yeah, but can he block? How's the physicality? And that might be something that he has to work on a little bit in terms of what Ohio State asks of its wide receivers. But I'm impressed with the routes that he runs. He seems to have pretty good body control. Not that he's having to get out there and do a lot of acrobatic things. As quarterback for his Wiregrass Ranch school, seems to have a pretty good arm on him and isn't making him go out and do a lot of things. But yeah, I think that everybody's going to be very excited about what Bryson is going to bring to the table, and I think he'll probably give us a couple good interviews along the way too.
Yeah, I think he's not, he's a great talker, but it's almost like there's like a Larry Fitzgerald there type of like personality. It's not like a cocky, like, oh, I need to be the center of attention type of talker. It's just genuinely enjoys interacting with people and talking to people. And he's a great conversationalist. So it's not like it's all self promotion and just yapping. He's just a really smart, thoughtful kid. And again, I think he's going to be a fan favorite. He reminds me from that standpoint, Steel Chambers has kind of been a fan favorite interview. He kind of has some of that to him, just being a great talker with the media and stuff. But like I said, I love the versatility. I do. I think, and it's kind of, as I'm watching this video again for like the fifth time, I'm like, yeah, he is, I think, the best route runner of the group. But just a crisp route runner with great hands, great body control, and can make plays outside, can make plays in the slot. I think you need a guy like this in every class at Ohio State, just because when you're recruiting so many good receivers, you do need a guy who can play all of the different receiver spots, because some guys can. Some guys cannot play in the slot. Some guys can't really play outside. So if you're going to recruit these big, like a Noah Rodgers on the outside, who's I think probably more of a pure outside guy, you need this Swiss Army knife here that we've seen guys be over the years at Ohio State that can kind of play anywhere just to get your best 3 or 4 on the field. If there's an injury, and he's also got the mentality to learn all the different positions and excel. So I think underrated pickup, de facto kind of Ohio guy too. Family is from Warren, Ohio. I believe he was born in Warren, Ohio. So there's kind of it's not your typical Florida kid. And Kevin, as we've talked about, before we start recording, he's been a leader in this recruiting class. I think he's had as much to do with the recruiting success of this position as anybody. I thought he did a great job there, committing early and then going after those other guys.
Yeah, Zephyr Hills, for those that don't know, is the greater Tampa area. And I think if he's not north of I-4, he's really close to it. So it's not a South Florida type of kid, not a South Florida type of recruitment. Once he was in, it was kind of like, all right, we know this one is solid. He was very emphatic that he wasn't looking to, clout chase or anything like that. And he was a very vocal guy. I mean, he certainly was in Carnell Tate's ear. He certainly was in Brandon Ennis's ear. He certainly was in the ear of others. And I think he's somebody that, we'll never truly know exactly, how much he was able to keep the class together or be able to influence people. But he's somebody that's very, has a very great personality. And I think with all of that, that's important, because we sit there and with all the Twitter sleuths and everything else. Well, is such and such kid, is he talking to everybody else? Is he really all in? Well, I don't think that Bryson Rodgers was going to allow you not to reply to him when he was reaching out to you. And I think that those are the kids that you love to have. Everybody wants to go back to the Michael Brewster days of the Brew Crew and everything. I don't think you necessarily need that type of recruiter to keep a class together, to put a class together, but you need guys like Bryson Rodgers who involve everybody and keep everybody moving in unison.
I thought it was really admirable how hard he went after Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes, Noah Rogers. I remember we were talking about Noah when we were down there visiting Bryson. We went and saw Noah on our way back from Florida, and I know Bryson was kind of persuading us to go see Noah and see what was going on there as Ohio State was trying to land him. But I thought it was very admirable how he it would have been easy, I think, for him, you know, as a lower rated prospect. The other guys had the 5 stars and he didn't. In fact, I think he might have been even a 3-star at that point. I think eventually he earned 4 stars from a lot of the services, but I know early on he was only a 3-star for some of these recruiting services. So, for him, it could have been an ego play of, well, why am I going to, go after these 5 stars if they don't want to be here? That's more playing time for me. That's an easier, path to the field for me. Like, it would have been very easy for him to not really dive headfirst into recruiting other guys, that he's going to be competing with for playing time. And I just saw so admirable, kind of how hard he worked to put that receiver class together with, of course, with Brian Hartline's, driving it. But so I don't know. I think this is a guy, again, glue guy on the field as far as the Swiss Army knife thing and just the different positions he can play. And I think glue guy in the locker room. I think he's a great locker room guy too. I think this is when they talk about the culture that they want at Ohio State, I think this is exactly who they're talking about. But we will find out soon enough, because he will be on campus soon enough. But this will be it for this one. We've got a bunch more coming. So stick with us here. Again, these will all be up on youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle or on the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast feed, or you can have a written component to go with these videos on BuckeyeHuddle.com. We will be with you here all day on National Signing Day.